All right, guys, so now we're going to put a full 12-inch wide weft in, and we're going to time it so you can see how fast one goes. And I'll do a whole lot of talking while it's going in. Go, Brennan.
Yes, sir.
So starting right now, he's putting a full 12-inch wide weft in, and I'll talk about a few of the details that are happening while it's going in. He's using a drawing tool that we will show a little close up and a little slower in other videos, or maybe towards the end of this video. But during the timed portion of this, I want to show with no stops, no slowdowns, no cuts in editing, how fast we put one 12-inch wide weft in. It doesn't matter how fast, though he feels a little pressure right now because we're timing him. But we're doing this mostly just to show people how much faster and easier they are than, yep, there's going to be a lot of things dropping on the ground. We're going to just throw things around here, mic drop, whatever it takes to get this in. But like I said, when you're doing it in the salon, if it takes you a little longer, it's fine. If you're even faster, even better. But mostly it's just like you're not having to plug into any electricity because there's no heated tool you need to heat something up. There's no big pressing tool. It's just, there's no tying, no string, no sewing, no gluing. Oh, she's getting moved around a little bit. So it already having the beads on the weft makes it so much easier because all we're having to do is pull hair through a loop. When he pulls it through, I think you can kind of notice, kind of like right now, what will happen is he'll put the tool on the bead, and I'm going to speak way slower than he's actually making it happen. He puts a tool on the bead kind of snugly and then positions it into a natural fall position. And then what's going on is he's sliding that tool up to probably a too tight of a position as a reference point, and then pulling down just a little bit to give a little bit of free flow and movement, and then giving it a good squeeze. And then I'll talk about some of the things that that should be happening inside that hair that you can't see. The tool only has so much space of squeeze area, I guess we could call it. And so that bead needs to be centered in that tool. It's not always going to be perfect, but the goal is to get the bead centered in there. And one of the ways you can kind of see if you did it correctly is to later split the hair open, look at the bead, and if it has a line sideways directly across the center of the bead, then you did it correctly. Sometimes you won't see a line at all. It means you didn't squeeze it tight enough. Maybe you just squeezed half the bead, or you went over and squeezed the front half and the other part of the bead sticking out in the round circle that is used to remove them. Sometimes you squeeze the bottom half or the top half. So you got to try to get centered on there and get that line to be right in the center. And all of those little variations generally will work out fine, but the right way, the most perfect way, is to get that line right in the center. So those are all the things that are trying to happen right now as we pull them out. When you pull those sticks out, you kind of hear them hitting the ground right now. You could have a cart next to you to put them in. You're going to want to save those red and green loops so you can reuse them again in the future, and buy new beads. These beads would probably work again when you remove them, but we don't recommend reusing the beads. We want a really good squeeze on the new bead. If you do like some people and just unsqueeze the bead, slide it up and re-squeeze it, I'm afraid some of the hair that was in that section over time has shed. So you're holding on to less hair, and we want to have more hair in that section, or the same amount of hair every time. So we want to take it completely out and put it back in, though I know some guys are going to reuse the beads, and that's on you. Now when it comes to charging, there's different lengths hair, and then there's different densities. We have a single plus and a double density, and then we have it in 10, 14, 18, and 22 inch hair. And we have a whole bunch of colors on that color ring, and some of the lightest blondes that are on the market. How are we doing for time? Can you show me that phone over there? I'm just kind of curious roughly where we're at. He's doing really good. He's right at 4 minutes, and he's got about half of it in. So if he doesn't hit any snags, he's going to be right at about 8 minutes is our guess right now. And I mean, the on-screen timer might be a little bit different than the set timer, but
drop my tool.
And don't drop your tool.
Well, I did in the beginning.
Oh, and he did drop the tool in the beginning. That's right. So what we charge in the salon to put these wefts in is 2.5. I don't know how to do a half with my fingers, but 2.5 times the cost of the weft. And something I'll mention right here that I'll also mention in another video is that if you buy a pack of beaded strands, a pack of beaded strands in the same length and same density is about half the hair that a full weft has. So if you found that you're needing a little more than 2 wefts to make a full head of extensions work for the thickness, then you don't have to buy a whole 3rd weft, but you could buy a pack of strands, which we actually are going to be doing on her. We put 3 wefts plus some strands on her head. So we kind of use both to get this head to look just right, because the beaded strands can give you some individualization where you need to kind of tweak it just a tiny bit. If you part over one way and you need a little bit more hair on one side than the other. So some guys are just doubling the cost of the hair and you still make pretty good money because of how fast they go in. And then some people are doing triple or quadruple, and that's fine also. We do 2.5 times the cost of each weft. And then when we redo these, we take them out and put them back in. We charge anywhere from $75 to $150 per weft, kind of depending on what's going on. When I say we, I'm talking about salons across the country there. And some lower, I guess some lower, in some lower income areas where everything is less expensive, the rent and everything, you could be at $75 per weft to take it out, put it back in, and make good money. And then some people have higher rents in some areas, and so they're more at $150. But keep in mind the beaded strands.
Done.
Done? Timer.
Six
Good
away.
job. So, so keep in mind that 2.5 times is what we do. Is kind of right in the middle. I think we're just going to end it there. It went so quickly. How many minutes?
6 away.
6 minutes, 8 seconds. That's pretty good. Thanks, guys.